Good day to all, dear subscribers and viewers of the channel. Vitaly Sokolov is with you. In this video, we will try to figure out the Pascal language and its dialects. Are they alive or dead? What is happening to them now and what are their prospects for the future? Since the 2000s, rumors about the death of the Pascal language began to circulate among programmers, and a number of myths have also appeared, which we will also talk about. What are the reasons for the appearance of such myths, rumors, and what is the real situation? We will also talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the Pascal language and its dialects, as well as try to assess the popularity of languages in the present tense. Let's take a look at history and see how the language developed. The creator of the Pascal language is Niklaus Wirth. He was born in Switzerland on February 15, 1934 in Winterthur. He is a scientist and computer scientist. Winner of the 1984 Turing Prize. In 1968 to 1969 he was engaged in the development of the ALGOL 68 language. In those same years, work was underway to develop a new programming language that was supposed to teach procedural programming, that is, to be focused primarily on the field of education. In 1970 or 1971, the Pascal programming language and its compiler were officially released. But Niklaus Wirth did not stop there, and in 1978 he developed the Modular 2 language, and in 1986 he developed the Oberon language. If you think that's all, then the development of Niklaus Wirth largely initiated the creation of the Java and C# languages, which he helped develop at Microsoft. He also proved himself as an engineer in the development of space satellites, the latest drones, and Swiss railways. We will use the statistics available on the internet to better understand what was then the situation in the field of programming in the world. It is based on some open sources and there is always a certain margin of error. Therefore, data may differ from one source to another. Let's use the statistics of some of these sources. Also keep in mind that when calculating the popularity of Pascal and its dialects, as a rule, only Delphi and Pascal users are taken into account. A large number of other programming environments and dialects, which we will talk about further, are left without attention. Therefore, it is almost impossible to understand the full picture of the popularity of the languages of the Pascal family. After the appearance of the Pascal language, since the 1970s, the popularity of the language began to grow very quickly. In the course of its explosive growth in popularity, it bypasses languages such as APL, Assembler, ALGOL, BASIC, Lisp, COBOL, and Fortran. In 1980, the Pascal compiler already supported more than 100 types of computers and was at its peak of popularity for about 5 to 6 years, until 1985. Moreover, opponents of the language often state that Pascal has never been popular outside of Eastern Europe. But firstly, it was created in Switzerland, which is not an Eastern European country, and was popular in it, and secondly, in 1978 at the University of California at San Diego, the UCSDP system was developed, which included a port of the Pascal compiler in the portable P code. Third, in 1986, Apple developed an object extension of the Pascal language, resulting in Object Pascal, and Microsoft released its version of the Pascal language. And the development of the Delphi environment was carried out by the American companies Borland, CodeGear, and Embarcadero. That is, in America, a lot has been done and continues to be done for the development of this language. Same way. You can also find on the internet what companies have done projects in Pascal, Delphi, Lazarus, and other environments, and you will see that the geography of these companies is very wide. It is possible to continue the chain along which the popularity of the Pascal language in the world will be visible, but this will take a lot of time. If someone is interested in this topic, write about it in the comments. If there are many of you, I will try to take the time and record a video on this topic. The language also gained immense popularity in the countries of the Soviet Union. The language turned out to be so simple that its code could be partially understood by people even without a programmer's education. It was enough to know English and have a little understanding of mathematics and computer science to edit the code, fix errors, and roughly understand what this code does. It was also fascinating that the language could be learned very quickly due to its simplicity and was supported by almost all computers. But in 1985, languages like C and Ada bypassed Pascal in popularity. And in the top 3, Pascal stays on until the end of 1991, in which he is bypassed in popularity by the C++ language. Further, Pascal is in the top 5 most popular languages until 1995. But he was able to stay there largely due to the fall in popularity of his competitors, the Ada and Fortran languages. Since 1995, a gradual slow decline in the popularity of the Pascal language begins. There is a rapid development of the Internet and many web programming languages begin to gain popularity, displacing many applied languages in the list of popularity. Only C and C++ are able to create competition for web languages. But Pascal, with his slow decline, manages to stay in the top 10 languages until the end of 2002. In the same year, the Pascal dialect object Pascal, which grew into Delphi, is gaining popularity. It breaks in the top 10 popular languages for a while, but then goes down below. And together with Pascal, they are kept in the top 10, then next to it until 2005. By this time, more programming languages are entering the market. Each of them tried to take a part of the market for themselves. As a result, many languages, losing popularity, become highly specialized and focused on a specific area. Some were used in science, some in engineering, some when working with databases or something else. For example, Delphi is often used for working with databases and in education. Pascal also found his place in education, as originally conceived during its development. Of course, they were also used to create games, applied applications, in system programming and in various fields, but this was not everywhere. After 2005, none of the Pascal dialects made it into the top 10 popular languages anymore, with rare exceptions and for a short time. And if with Pascal it seemed that he could not withstand the competition, then many new versions of Delphi turned out to be buggy and unfinished, which is why their popularity fell. And it seemed to many that Pascal and his dialects were dead. It was more because they began to hear and use these languages less often. But in different countries, the Pascal and Delphi languages are still in the top 15 or top 20 popular and demanded languages. And there are reasons for this. Among some Delphi programmers on the internet, one could hear the following theory of the decline in the popularity of their favorite programming environment. They say in the summer of 2009, a man who taught Delphi and talked to some employees at CodeGear received information that when Borland was in financial difficulties, they issued shares that sold at a high price. Microsoft, wishing to lead in the development of environments and programming languages, bought about 40% of the shares through shell companies, gaining the right to block decisions taken by the board of directors. And then everything is simple. Delphi was purposefully prevented from developing, at the same time luring developers from Borland to the C# team. I have no data either to confirm this statement, or to refute it. But I came across such a theory more than once. And someone willingly believes in it, realizing the enormous capabilities of Microsoft, while someone skeptically denies it and says that if they had a desire to kill this environment, they did it even in normal competition due to the free nature of their environment, functionality, advertising and financial opportunities. Moreover, Microsoft itself released a programming environment in Pascal. Therefore, Pascal simply could not stand the competition. Myth 1. Pascal and its dialects are no longer used in education. First, let's figure out which languages were created specifically for teaching programming. This is BASIC, which became popular in the 60s, but received sharp criticism for its inconsistency with the principles of structured programming and the ease of creating spaghetti code. Pascal, ABC, Python, Logo, Idle, Scratch were also created. Pascal, Turbo Pascal, Delphi, Pascal ABC and Lazarus quickly gained popularity and are still taught in various educational institutions, although not as massively as before. From schools, courses, tutors and books to universities. The fact is that when teaching pupils and students to program, not every language and programming environment is suitable for the role of the first language in an educational institution. Among modern languages, there are quite simple ones, but many are not very well suited for this role or even lose to Pascal with its dialects in some of the following. Simplicity and speed in learning the language and its capabilities. High readability of the code even without the education of a programmer. Teaching students to write and format the code correctly. This will also help when switching to the following languages. Multiplatform. There is nothing without it in the modern world. The ability to create applied projects, system, mobile and internet, including sites. Free Pascal compiler supports almost all popular platforms. Independence from third-party libraries, the internet and additional software, for example, browsers. Free or partially free license. Ability to program with different approaches, paradigms, structural, procedural, object-oriented and others. Possibility of manual memory management. Possibility of both high-level and low-level programming. To optimize and speed up the program. Low system requirements and the possibility of portable installation and operation. Huge selection of programming environment studies with different capabilities for the chosen language or its dialects. Convenience when working with databases. Ability to write games, work with 2D, 3D graphics and the presence of game engines. There are more than 100 of them under Pascal. Since the training on creating games is the most interesting. Step-by-step compilation, breakpoints and easy error catching. A large number of components, libraries, ready-made developments and video tutorials. In fact, having studied the Pascal language or its dialects, the user gets the opportunity to work in more than 30 different programming environments, develop programs for many platforms, program at different levels using different programming approaches, and at the same time do it quite quickly and easily. Therefore, you do not need to learn a large number of languages, the popularity of which is constantly changing, and some programmers have to learn more and more new languages in order to keep up with the trends of the changing market. On the internet, you can find a lot of conflicting information when talking about the number of Pascal or Delphi users. Somewhere they say numbers of 150 or 300,000 Delphi users, and somewhere they say about 3 million. I did not find the exact information and one can only guess. The Delphi language is developed by Embarcadero. Its financial turnover for 2012 is about $100 million. But besides Delphi, she has other products that are profitable: RAD Studio, C++ Builder, JBuilder, Delphi for PHP, Oxygen, Interbase. Therefore, we can conclude that the company is profitable, but nothing more. All that can be said is that there are purchases and users, but how many of them are not clear. We can also look at the number of users within groups in social networks for programming in the Pascal language and its dialects. You can see the groups I found on the screen. The number of subscribers is indicated in brackets. And judging by it, these languages are still interesting and popular. We can also check the statistics of queries related to the Pascal language and its dialects in the search engines Google, Yandex and YouTube. And we will see that there are hundreds of thousands of requests per month. The second myth. The Pascal language and its dialects are no longer supported and are of no use to anyone. Here I would like to start with the fact that for some reason unknown to me, the existence of the Pascal language and its dialects is not liked by many people from different countries. Whole sites are being created that are aimed at hating these languages, and the phrases Pascal is dead, Delphi is dead, and the like are constantly being promoted. This has been going on for many years, and this rhetoric has already turned into a meme about a dying language that will never die. Although, it seems to me, competition among languages is needed. Thanks to it, the language either develops, or dies, or remains. And it is inappropriate to talk about the death of languages if they are still being developed and used. Therefore, when looking for information on the internet, do not be surprised by the answers of some programmers. Some say that there are too few Pascal projects on IT project hosting. Although such hosting services have never been very popular in the Pascal and Delphi community. Unfortunately, Pascal and Delphi projects are scattered all over the internet. The Object Pascal language and the Delphi programming environment are quite popular among various enterprises for writing and maintaining database programs. In Delphi it is very conveniently implemented. There are many facilitating features and conveniences in this direction. Delphi is a commercial product, so its price has discouraged many from using it for their projects. But in recent years, it has become possible to use this environment for free. Thanks to this, more young programmers began to appear who work with it. Delphi and Lazarus began to support more platforms and operating systems, as well as more various components and libraries for them. Delphi supports Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Android and iOS. And Lazarus supports Windows, Linux, Mac OS, React OS, and Android. And its interface supports about 36 languages. Some libraries come with the programming environment, and some need to be downloaded separately. For Lazarus, there is an alternative extended environment with many installed libraries called Code Typhon. If you did not find the required library, you can try to rewrite the headers of the required library from another language to call them in Pascal. It can be faster than writing a new library by hand from scratch. The free Pascal compiler or FPC environment and compiler are modern. Their development continues, new features appear, almost all existing platforms and operating systems are supported. This gave impetus to the development of many development environments. More and more projects are starting to use this compiler. And updates happen very often. The free Pascal compiler currently supports the following architectures. And also a number of other not yet tested architectures. Each of you can submit an application for testing these platforms. I also provide a list of supported operating systems by the compiler. Personal computers. And also a number of other platforms not yet tested, which may appear in the near future. New Pascal dialects, programming environments that support Pascal or its dialects came out and updated constantly over the years. Some of course died for various reasons, but new ones came in their place and, in many ways, better than the old ones. On the screen, you see many of these programming environments. Not every modern language can boast of such an abundance of programming environments and dialects as the Pascal language. New programming environments are not written for dead languages, and even more so, they do not support them for many years, since it would not be profitable. In the case of Pascal, it is still relevant and in demand. So the Pascal language is definitely alive. Some programming environments are free, and some have to be paid for. Of all the programming environments listed, I would draw your attention to the following: free Pascal, Delphi, Lazarus, and Pascal ABC. They have the widest functionality and cross-platform functionality. Also, in some cases, you can use the Genie environment if you need a simple and lightweight development environment with support for a huge number of programming languages, including Pascal. Or MSE GUI, which is a more simplified Delphi and Lazarus, or Code Typhon. Midlet Pascal could be useful to you as an environment with a Pascal-like syntax when developing applications for mobile platforms, but it is clearly inferior in terms of capabilities to Delphi and Lazarus in this regard. Also, no one forbids you to compile applications directly from Notepad, text file, in conjunction with free Pascal compiler or other compilers. And if you want to program in Pascal from your mobile phone, install the Pascal NIDE application. It is still rather weak, but you can already program on it for Android. And if you are even afraid that these projects will be closed soon, I hasten to reassure you, such a huge number of projects, which are different from each other, will definitely not be closed at the same time. And they are not going to close. Therefore, their lives should be enough for your life. And then time will put everything in its place. Myth third. Nothing is really created projects in Pascal and its dialects. Of course, I will not list all the projects, since there are too many of them, but I will give as an example only the most famous ones. This list should be enough at least to understand that projects are being written and updated. On the screen you see a list of programs that are created in Pascal and its dialects. Myth number 4. Pascal and its dialects are not suitable for creating PC, mobile and console games. On the screen you see a list of some games that are created in Pascal, Delphi or other dialects of the language. And for creating games, there are a huge number of game engines and constructors that support or are written in Pascal or its dialects. At the end of the video, let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of the Pascal language and its dialects. Let's start with the disadvantages. 1. There are fewer ready-made open source projects and libraries on the network for Pascal. And there is no single place where you can get the necessary libraries and source codes. They are all scattered across the internet. Therefore, a programmer sometimes has to spend a lot of time looking for the right things. But for the Delphi programming environment, they seem to be trying to create a convenient repository for libraries and many software developments. This is also reflected in the average age of programmers. Some of them are not actively involved in online education. 2. Pascal and most of its programming environments do not have automatic garbage collection and cleaning. Of course, the operating system looks at the execution of your program in parallel and tries to clean up the memory behind your program, but it is better to provide for the cleaning of memory inside the program, and you will have to do it manually or write your own automatic garbage collector. or program in the Pascal ABC environment, it has an automatic garbage collector. But garbage collectors also have disadvantages. This is the removal of something that did not need to be removed yet, and in some cases, the slowdown of the program, as well as a little more load on the computer. In general, the ability to manually manage memory directly is a more flexible approach. Therefore, in some cases, direct memory management is even an advantage for Pascal. 3. At the moment, Pascal is not as widespread in the world as in his best years. This means that it is more difficult to find a job as a programmer on it. Of course, there are jobs and vacancies both in terms of ads and on freelance, but the choice is not as great as that of some competitors. Advantages. 1. The syntax of the language is very simple. That allows you to quickly learn the language, write understandable commands in English, and so on. It is not easy to read the code written in it. The readability of the code is at a very high level. And since the case of letters does not play a role in Pascal, this reduces the chance of calling the wrong identifier by mistake. It is great for learning your first programming language and getting into programming in general. He will not discourage desire with complex programming, but rather, on the contrary, will show how simple and accessible it can be. 2. The language is complete and it can be used to solve almost any programming problem, with rare exceptions. 3. The language is well structured. This allows you to perfectly use it in education and teach programmers to correctly design and write code, get used to following program rules. That will help later and when switching to other languages. The ability to express practically any algorithm of actions through constructions is also supported. 4. Safety and reliability. The language is designed so as not to harm the computer in the event of incorrectly written code. 5. Very fast compiler. Older versions claimed that free Pascal compiler was the fastest compiler in the world at the time. 6. Pascal allows you to make insertions in the code of the program in assembler for lower-level programming and optimization of the program. 7. Very low system requirements for software development. You can develop a program even on very old and weak computers. Also, thanks to the Pascal NIDE application, you can program in Pascal even from a mobile phone under the Android operating system. 8. Pascal allows you to use different approaches in programming, unlike some competitors. You can use classes and object-oriented programming, with two mechanisms of polymorphic calling, classic virtual and dynamic. You can use procedural programming with records, constants and variables. Windows system calls are not formally object-based, as in POSIX systems like Linux, Mac OS, so Pascal is quick to work with them. Thanks to this, Pascal does not have such restrictions as object-oriented languages, the interaction of which with system calls is difficult even without taking into account the different paradigm of managing the lifetime of variables in memory. 9. The elements of the array can be numbered starting at least from 0, even from 1, even from 1,000, and not just from 0. Summing up, we can say the following. The Pascal language and its dialects are still alive, actively developing and supported. This language has already outlived many languages and has continued to develop further for over 50 years. It can be used to create projects for almost any platform, processor and operating system. You can write code in a convenient programming environment and at the same time using a convenient paradigm. You have a huge choice of programming environments for Pascal or its dialects. So don't be afraid to program in Pascal. At the moment, nothing threatens him and he feels calm in the market. For such an old-timer among programming languages, it's even surprising how it survives and develops against the background of a large number of new languages. All the same, the universality initially incorporated into it gives this language the opportunity to always find its application in a changing world. That's all for me. I hope the video was useful for you and you found for yourself the answer to the question whether it is worth learning this programming language, what is its current position and what are the prospects for the future. I ask you to support the channel with a thumb up under the video and subscribing to the channel. Click on the bell not to miss new videos and write a comment. Good luck with learning programming and creating games and programs. See you in new videos.